Top of the morning to you. This is Monday with Friday, wishing for you a glorious week ahead. Christians the world over celebrated yesterday Resurrection Sunday, otherwise known as Easter. Now, I sympathize with the skeptics who remain in that camp of atheists and agnostics who do not believe in a resurrection, and even some people who possess some form of belief in Christ and some respect for the extraordinary and miraculous, but who, nevertheless, suspend any conclusive position on a bodily resurrection of Jesus. Now, since I am not trying to have church or preach a sermon these next moments, my purpose is neither to argue with or try to persuade anybody who holds that position. What I want to do, though, is to make a case, both spiritually and secularly, from the idea of resurrection, not just in theory, but with reference to how the idea of the resurrection has actually done and been doing a whole lot of good in people and in the world through people. Now, let me make the basic case that what belief in the resurrection, whether one holds it as an actual or literal, allegorical or metaphorical reality, resurrection offers the hope and challenges people concerned about life, that right is stronger than wrong, that life is stronger than death, that truth is stronger than lies, and that the way of sacrifice is better than the way of selfishness. For any skeptic who may have laughed out loud as I said those last four things, hold that laugh. Now, I know why you laugh. I am often tempted myself to laugh, but then my faith in the resurrection ideal, even if it were not a resurrection reality, kicks in. As well, for any devout Christian listening to me who may thus far be wondering to themselves, Michael, what do you mean by suggesting that people who don't believe in the bodily resurrection of Jesus, but who accept the resurrection as something symbolical and metaphorical, could be Christians? Well, aside from my answer starting off with a reference to a man named Thomas, who was a disciple, but who would not believe until he saw and felt, or for the whole team of 12 in the first place who were disciples for 3 years, but had no faith in a resurrection, albeit before it was declared to have happened, I will finish up by saying, precisely with reference to those two facts, that a disciple is more than what they believe. A disciple is what they do. Now, these men doubted a resurrection before it happened. They ran when the crucifixion was unfolding. They were in hiding when Christ was reported as risen. And yet, they did not become disciples after all of that. No, they were disciples the moment they began to follow and imitate and practice with Jesus. And that is my point today. I have news for those prim and proper, holier-than-thou Christians who even now might be calling me or anybody else who they hear talking like this a heretic, because we allow for welcoming as genuine Christians people who claim to be Christians who yet are skeptical about a bodily resurrection, but embrace a resurrection as a worldview and as a driving force in their lives. And what is this news? This, that perhaps people who are not Christians laugh at us who say we believe in a resurrection, as they observe us lazily sitting by, waiting for a heaven that we suppose comes after death, while doing nothing that resembles what Jesus did in this life. And so they are disinclined to believe themselves in any resurrection or in the Jesus in whom we say we believe. Some may in fact believe him, but they don't believe us. Now, let me make myself clearer. If we say that resurrection means that right is stronger than wrong, and people who hear us saying that don't see us fighting for the right and fighting against the wrong, we are not really demonstrating that we believe in a resurrection, and there is no resurrection to be believed. If we say that resurrection means that life is stronger than death, and people who hear us saying this don't see us fighting for life, voting for life. And here I am not talking about fighting for pregnancy or birth in any circumstance for any reason dictated to by any government. I am talking instead about life that involves equity, opportunity, dignity, liberty, and justice for all, not just as a cynical and dishonest phrase, but as the truth. Freedom from prejudice and racism, food and shelter security for all, and respect for the right, wisdom, and autonomy of the individual about their own bodies and own life within the context of consideration for the good of all. I am talking about a quality of life for all, so that when death comes to such a person, all can say about that person, it was a life well lived. Their death is now a mere rest from their life that has been greater than death. If we say that resurrection means that sacrifice is better than selfishness, and people who hear us saying so see the Christians with the loudest mouths seeking power for their own selves, leveraging and lobbying governments to favor them and make laws that conform to their narrow and backward and selfish ideologies that rob, hurt, diminish, devalue, and dismiss everybody else. Or if they see us keeping silence in the midst of injustice and wickedness rather than speaking out and acting up, even with the risk of persecution or upon the pain of death, then what's the point of Jesus' resurrection for such people except that such Christians' selfish expectation of heaven after death, while in life they offer nothing to erode the empires of wickedness, injustice, dishonesty, and inequities, sometimes happily joining those empires? The final word belongs to one of those disciples of Jesus, Peter, in one of those letters in which he was clearly referencing the expectation of sacrificial lives of the people who claim the resurrection, who said, quote, "To this, sacrifice that is, to this you were called, because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps," unquote. People who believe in the resurrection live lives that imitate Jesus. And I have been noticing a strange and interesting thing, that many of the Christians who believe the bodily and literal resurrection of Jesus tend to be more interested in waiting for heaven versus those who are more skeptical, who stick their necks out, raise their voices loudly, and engage in fighting public policy that hurt the poor, the sick, the forgotten, the immigrant, the broken people, the marginalized, and the minority, to whom Christ gravitated all the time throughout his whole ministry. People who really believe in the resurrection show it in their practicality, not just their spirituality. Please share this video with someone and like it, and encourage others to subscribe to my channel. I am Michael Friday, and your week just got better. I'll see you again soon. Happy Monday all the way to Friday.